Morning, good morning. I'm Elizabeth Inman. This is our Dream Big Today Bible study. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad you're here. Sure would like everybody to keep Debbie Nolan in your prayers this morning. She made a trip to the emergency room. I got a text about 4:15 this morning from her with some severe pain in her right side. Not sure what that's all about. Haven't got a report from her since. So if you would, please pray for Debbie. I believe in the power of our prayers. This is January the 11th, 2023. Boldly unshakable. Boldly unshakable. Good friend Jan got a word that it is steadfast, accountable, and faithful. It's her words. Another one that was on the tip of my tongue. Debbie's word is, well, I believe it's truth. Now that I say that, I'm not positive. Unoffendable. Donna's is unoffendable. Yeah. 2023. Already January the 11th, 11 days in. What a difference 11 days makes. There's Mama Mary joining us. Hello. There's Holly. Hi, Holly. Good morning. Hi, Sherry. Hi, Jan. There's Nancy. Oh, Nancy's is treasure. Oh, I love that, Nancy. Oh. Ooh, Christy's is becoming. That's good. Yes. Christy, we got to have we got to get together again. I'm just telling you, got to get together again. Looking forward to our retreat, January the 20th. God has already spoken to me about this retreat in powerful ways. In fact, I'm here to tell you, he's given me some visions. I have had some visions of some of the ladies that will be operating in the prophetic, will be operating in words of knowledge. It's going to be a powerful, powerful weekend. That's for sure. I have no doubt about that. So, okay. I want to, it just won't be nearly as much fun this morning without Debbie on, because I'm going to start at the end and I'm going to work towards the beginning. Holly says, enemy's been attacking her mind the last couple of days. I've thought about all the reasons I shouldn't go. Oh, Holly, that devil is a liar. You absolutely need to go. I want you to go. You will be blessed to go. At least we know he's a liar, and you know it's the enemy. So, yeah. Really excited. My good friend Marilyn Stevenson's going to go with us as well. Everybody that's going. Everybody that's going. Good, Holly. I'm glad you're determined. I'm glad you're determined to come go with us. So, Holly's husband went to be with Jesus right before Christmas this year. So, this will be a wonderful time for us to get to just love on her and for her to just soak in Jesus. Just soak in Jesus. Keep Holly in your prayers if you would, please. Very proud of her. I'd like for you to pray for another friend of mine, Kadri. Going through a tough time, battling some custody type issues, just some tough stuff. There's my friend Myra. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, so I'm starting at the end, going to work back to the beginning. I know that would bother Debbie, but you know what? She'd go along with us. She'd say it's okay. And she'd say, okay, I'm keeping up. I'm keeping up. We have so much fun with that. We have so much fun with that. But the nice part about it, because Debbie and I love each other the way we do, we can play with each other and have fun with our differences. It allows us to communicate with you, for those of you who might also be just a little uncomfortable that Elizabeth's going to start in Proverbs today. It's okay. God created us the way we are. Some of our personalities are more comfortable with that. Others prefer you start at the beginning and work your way step by step. Proverbs chapter 3, 7 and 8. Don't be impressed with your own wisdom. Instead, fear the Lord and turn away from evil. Then you will have healing for your body and strength for your bones. Wow. That really got me this morning, that our fear of the Lord, our obedience to God leads to healing in our body and strength for our bones. So powerful. And I guess maybe the reason it struck me this morning, and I wanted to start with it, because that's what we're doing by reading the Bible. I mean, we're gaining wisdom. We are learning to fear the Lord in a time when the world says, because God is love, there's nothing to fear. That is what the world says. And yet the Bible tells us to fear him. And it doesn't even tell us to just fear him. It tells us to fear him and live a long life, to fear him, God bless you, and be healed, to fear him and to gain strength and knowledge. And then the Psalms is Psalms chapter 10, verses 1 through 15. And today when I read it, and obviously another year as well, when I read this, the question came up in my mind: why do bad things happen to good people, and why does it seem like good things happen to bad people? And I think that this Psalms addresses that from start to finish. I mean, it starts right out. You know, oh Lord, why do you stand so far away? Why do you hide when I'm in trouble? The wicked arrogantly hunt down the poor. Why do bad things happen to good people, and why does it seem like good things happen to the bad people? But I also felt like we had an answer here. Verse 4: the wicked are too proud to seek God. They seem to think that God is dead, yet they succeed in everything they do. And here's the answer for me: they do not see your punishment awaiting them. Things are not always as they seem. Morning, Mama. Things are not always as they seem. In fact, the more and more I read and the more I learn, the more I seek wisdom and God's knowledge, the more I'm convinced things are not as they seem. Things are not as they seem. We have a physical realm, we have a spiritual realm. I believe our life is three-dimensional. We've got that physical, our physical body. We've got that dimension where our mind and our will and our emotions are operating. And then we've got the spiritual realm. And I think that it correlates with the outer courtyard, the inner courtyard, and the Holy of Holies. Verse 11, the wicked think God isn't watching us. He has closed his eyes and won't even see what we're doing. You ever felt like that? But again, they do not see their punishment awaiting them. God says, I'll take care of it. One of the things that I will always remember about my Mama Mary, my dad's wife, is when something would happen, things would go wrong, she'd always say, God will take care of it. God will take care of it. She's always said that. God will take care of it. Good morning, Eileen. Thank you for the hugs this morning. And then Matthew chapter 8, verses 18 through 34. I mean, Jesus just goes about doing miracles, miracle after miracle after miracle. We're in that part of Matthew where they're just the historical text of all the miracles that Jesus did. And you know, there's a scripture in here that'll tell us that if they wrote down all the things that Jesus did, if they wrote down all the things that Jesus did, they couldn't contain it in the book. So we're not even getting a true glimpse of I knew she was going to move. I knew she didn't want to be on camera. We're not even getting a true glimpse of everything he did. But, you know, I'm just convinced that they had to write it down for us. We had to read it over and over and over again because he fully intends for us to do the same things and even greater things than he did. And if we didn't get to read about him and see what he did, we wouldn't know what to do ourselves. I mean, really, when you read this, can you see yourself doing the exact same thing? Jesus was asleep in the bottom of the boat. This is just one of the times he slept in the bottom of the boat when a great storm came on the body of water that they were on. And he's with professional fishermen, and he slept in the bottom of the boat. I mean, to be so carefree and to be so full of faith. Nancy says, God bless you, Mama Sharon. That you could sleep in the midst of the storms. You know, that has to do with what I believe my word unshakable is all about. Boldly unshakable. I think unshakable is a word when good news comes. That I don't get so giddy and caught up in the euphoria of the good news that I forget my bearings. And I definitely believe that it's meant to keep me from being up on the bow of that boat, shaking in terror as the storm happens, that I can literally be in the bottom of the boat sleeping. I hope that you guys press in as we're in the Gospels, as we're reading about the life of Jesus here on earth, and that you're grasping the very things he wants us to do here. And then we'll move to Genesis chapter 24 and 26. Because don't be impressed with your own wisdom. Instead, fear the Lord and turn away from evil. Then you will have healing for your body and strength for your bones. We are gathering God's wisdom as we read these historical texts. We're reading about a period of time when there was no law. There was no spiritual consequences for sin. We see history repeating itself here in the story. I mean, Abraham passes on, and then Rebekah marries his son, Isaac. And Rebekah has trouble getting pregnant, just like what Sarai had trouble getting pregnant. Isaac tells somebody that she's his sister and gives away Rebekah to another man, just like his dad Abraham did, not once but twice. History repeats itself. But all through this, we see God's grace. I mean, we see God's mercy. He doesn't even address the sins oftentimes. I mean, he doesn't even address it when they miss it. I mean, we're the ones that keeps bringing up our past, that keeps bringing up our failures, our sins, the accuser of the brethren. Well, I think we're probably one of the worst accusers of the brethren there is. Boy, we get to see God's heart. We get to see God's heart all the way through these stories. Rich historical stories, God's love, mercy, no laws in place, generational sins, God's abundant blessings is what we read as we're reading through these stories in Genesis. We read about Rebecca and Isaac and Rebecca's twins being born. We see where Esau sells his birthright because he was hungry. There's Callie. Hi, Callie. We prayed for you, sweet girl. We believe your hands and your fingers are going to be healing very quickly because of our prayers. Good morning, Dana. Good morning. You guys, all of you, every time your names pop up, you just bless my socks off. I wish I could just name all of y'all, but then nobody would want to listen because all I'm doing is doing the begats and the begots by naming the ones that's on the Bible study with us. Esau could have gone to his daddy for food. You know how simple it would have been? So Esau thinks he's starving and he gives up his birthright. There's so much more at play here than just the superficial stories. So much more at play here. We're seeing God's heart in so many ways. Looking for nuggets, always looking for nuggets. I want to go to chapter 26. I think I'll start in verse 2 just to get the full impact, and then I'll finish up with a nugget. The Lord appeared to Isaac and said, "Don't go down to Egypt, but do as I tell you." But do as I tell you. You know what? I just now know that's a nugget. I didn't have it marked. In all the years, I got so many different colors on these pages. I didn't have that one marked. Do as I tell you. You know that our life will be absolutely positively fine if we just do what God tells us to do. Okay, I got sidetracked a little bit because as I read to you, God spoke to me. I love when he does that. The Lord appeared to Isaac and said, "Do not go down to Egypt, but do as I tell you. Live here as a foreigner in this land, and I will be with you and bless you. I hereby confirm that I will give all these lands to you and your descendants." Now, see why I believe that when we read about the land or the promised land, or that represents God's promises for us. It's symbolic to me today when I read these words about his promises for me. Just as I solemnly promised Abraham your father, I will cause your descendants to become as numerous as the stars of the sky. Now, that's a repeat of history, because that is the promise that God gave to his father, to Isaac's father, Abraham. I will cause your descendants to become as numerous as the stars of the sky. That's the reason why I believe that God's seed is inside of every human being. And I will give them all these lands, and through your descendants, all the nations of the earth will be blessed. What a powerful word. I will do this because Abraham listened to me and obeyed all my requirements, commands, decrees, and instructions. So Isaac stayed there. Our obedience will result in blessings for our children and our children's children. That's the nugget that I got from that. Our obedience will result in the blessings for our children and our children's children. But it's really beyond that. Our obedience will result in blessings for many people, for all of those around us, not just our children and children's children. But we get stuck when something happens with one of our children. They get bullied at school, they get arrested, they lose a job, they get a divorce. We get stuck worrying about our children. Worry stops. Worry blocks the blessings. Hi, Bandy. You're not late. You're right on time. Yeah, that. I mean, there's so much more. There's so much more. When verse 12, when Isaac planted his crops that year, he harvested 100 times more grain than he planted, for the Lord blessed him. Are you expecting 100-fold return on the seeds you plant? 100-fold return. I mean, it is written. It's not just in that one place. See, this place I read over and over and over and over again because I was reading the historical text, and I never got that nugget right there. I would just go right over it because it was Isaac, and it was because Isaac planted grain, and it was about a field, and it was about until all the way through this book, he starts talking about give, and it'll be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, until I start reading in this book about what the locust steals, God will return 100-fold. Until I started reading about the 100-fold return all the way through this book. Not just here. I didn't get it here for years and years and years. I didn't get this as a nugget for me today. It was just a historical text. It was just about Isaac planting his crops. But you know, every time you give something, you're planting a seed, you're planting your crops. Do you know overall in this story in Genesis today, this is really what I got. Every time they turned around, they were giving. I thought about the society in which they lived in then versus the society in which we live in today. You didn't go into someone's house back then that they didn't feed you. Read the stories. I mean, when Isaac moved into that part of the country where he was afraid they were going to kill him to get Rebecca, they gave and they gave and they gave. And every time they turn around, they're giving, they're giving, they're giving, they're giving. It was nothing for them to just give. And I thought about today, and I think about the attention that we as Christians get at times when we give. And it's like people think, oh, you're this, oh my goodness, you gave somebody a car. Oh my goodness, you gave money to pay somebody's rent. You gave them the shoes off of your feet. You and it's like this, it's a novel thing anymore. If you just where you're sitting right now, just look out your windows and just use your imagination that you can see for the 50 miles in a radius all the way around you. And of those people that's within a 50-mile radius of you, what percentage do you think are givers? That if you're in need, they'll just give. Now, we have pockets of it. Last night, Tom read to me about a woman who set up a GoFundMe that was supposedly for wounded soldiers, and she got convicted because she was stealing money. We've got those GoFundMes that do wonderful things. We've got those organizations that do wonderful things. But I don't know, maybe it's just me in my mind when I do that. When I think about I think about the neighbors right here in my neighborhood. And I do happen to know of a few of my neighbors that I absolutely know if I told them I was hungry, they'd give me food. I do, but not the majority of them. Not, I mean, enough so that I wouldn't even go. I mean, Esau wouldn't go to his daddy and tell him he was hungry. But I wouldn't even just one block over. If I just went down the street, I know of nobody that gives. I'm not saying they don't, but I don't know of it. I'm talking about the difference in society then where everybody gave and the society we have now that just a few do the giving. I mean, you go to church, they say less than 20% of the people that attend church even tithe. I mean, it's one of the most basic principles about giving that we have. And they gave all the time. In fact, in the year, I think it was 2017, I highlighted give. Give is in verse, so we started in Genesis 24, 52, and in verse 53 they gave. In Genesis 25:5, Abraham gave everything he owned. Verse 6, before he died, he gave gifts to the sons of his concubines. And I mean, and it just goes on and on and on. Give is what I wrote in the column a few years ago. Give. They gave. And now here we are. I'm reading about when Isaac planted his crops that year, he harvested 100 times more grain than he planted. Every single time we give, we're planting a seed. How much do we limit the blessings because we don't give? I don't know. That was powerful to me this morning. Overall, that was the number one most important thing for me, because Deuteronomy tells us the blessings are honest, the blessings are in us, the blessings in the King James version of Deuteronomy 28, it says the blessings will overtake us. And yet we don't live that way. We don't live, maybe I just should say, I don't live that way. I live balancing a checkbook, figuring out how I'm going to make ends meet at times. I live as though what comes in is dependent on how hard I work instead of how freely I give. And it ties back to the Proverbs again. Don't be impressed with your own wisdom. See, my own wisdom is that, by golly, if I don't have enough money in my checkbook, I better get a second job. My own wisdom is that I just work harder. Instead of God's wisdom that I'm blessed because I'm his. That as I plant a seed, 100-fold return will come back to me. Man. I hope that when you listen to me, you're getting that God's changing me and he's transforming my mind. I no longer think the way I used to think. I can no longer read. I can promise you this. This is January the 11th of 2023. And when I read about Isaac planting his crops and harvesting 100-fold return, I'll never see it the same again. And I couldn't have gotten that out of that story if I hadn't been faithful in my reading over and over, and read about the other times when he's very plain about give and it shall be given back to you. All of a sudden, the nuggets pop up everywhere. And on a day that I need it, I get the wisdom I need on that day, his wisdom, instead of relying on my own wisdom. Man, my own wisdom messes things up. Thanks for sharing this journey with me. Thanks for letting me just be real as we do life together.